I have some exciting news to share. And that is that Transform Perspective will not only be on YouTube, but is now available on Spotify. And this is the first episode. It is really exciting because I've always wanted to have more of a like traditional type podcast, you know what I'm saying, type of radio rebel type vibe. I don't know if that's before y'all's time or whatever, but having it available on Spotify is huge because now you can listen to it. If you're not able to watch it on YouTube, you're able to listen to the sit downs, listen to the talks and conversations that I'll have weekly, as well as meditations and affirmations. Now, as far as the journaling, lifestyle, and any other videos, that will be solely on YouTube. But anything you can listen to and don't really need a visual for will be available on Spotify. So now you can kind of pick and choose if you want to watch it or if you want to listen. So yeah, that is available. Go check it out. Subscribe to Transform Perspective if you haven't already. Like this video, and then also go over to Spotify, follow, share, and yeah. Welcome to Transform Perspective with Kyra Weathersby. I am here to guide and encourage others to have a transformed perspective as we evolve on this journey called life, which we all are doing because we're growing, we're changing, and that could be terrifying, but we can do it together. Yeah, I just want to add that in there because I feel like sometimes you can lose sight of that, where you feel like you're doing it all by yourself and you're losing it and it's too much, but you can handle it, boo. You're here and you can handle it, and it's okay if you feel like you're losing it and you can't handle it. Just want to add that in there because that's important. You got this. I had to remind myself that recently because a lot of themes around emotion and how I process my emotions and thoughts and feelings and vulnerability have come up for me recently. I'm like, I wonder why that is. But I've noticed a lot of new things about the way that I express myself emotionally, or process my emotions. I always saw myself as pretty vulnerable, I guess. Like I showed my emotions. I suppressed them a lot too. But when I did get the chance to show them, I showed them. I mean, bawl my eyes out. I mean, it was a lot. It would come off as dramatic or I'm super sensitive or too emotional. And everyone expresses themselves and processes their emotions in their own way. Some people are seen as, emotionally unavailable. Maybe they have a hard time with showing their emotions due to whatever reasons, maybe they got hurt in the past or when they did show their emotions, it wasn't accepted. So they kind of close their heart and don't express themselves. Some people are very open with their emotions. And yeah, they don't hold back. And then there's some people that's in the middle. It's kind of like this scale. But anyways, everyone is different. And I'm learning that for myself, how maybe before I was very much so open, I thought, or maybe viewed as vulnerable, but I'm starting to see how maybe I haven't been as vulnerable as I thought I was. And you may see this in yourself too, depending on where you are emotionally, how aware you are of your feelings and your experiences that you have and how you process them. A lot of times I thought because I was crying, or I would get upset, that I was being vulnerable, that I was communicating how I felt. But I noticed that even when I feel like I'm being vulnerable, that's just kind of like the surface of it. Like there's some more that haven't really been brought to the surface. And so I've seen that recently just within myself, how, something may upset me or something may happen and I cry about it, but I notice that I don't really fully cry it out. It's just like, oh, I cried. Okay. It's been a good 15 minutes now. It's time to suck it up, buttercup, and keep it going. But there's still a lot of repressed emotions still sitting there because you only allowed yourself to cry 5% out. But maybe you're meant to cry, for hours. Maybe you're supposed to just kind of sit with it for a second. Now, I feel like I've avoided this and many other people avoid doing this because in your mind, you're thinking, well, okay, if I do that, I'm just going to stay there. I'm never going to get out of that. I'm going to go into the deep darkness, into deep depression and never come out of it. unfortunately, for some people, that can be a reality, and it's really sad and it's really painful and it's a lot. But there's many ways that you can address it and work with yourself and learn how to process your emotions in a healthy way so you don't get stuck there. And I'm learning that because it's tricky sometimes because it feels so uncomfortable and you feel so alone in it, yet we all experience it on a day-to-day basis. I mean, everybody is up and down and left and right, and 1 minute you're sad and 1 minute you're happy, and next minute you are, relaxed, and you may be angry, and this is just a part of our experience, and it comes and it goes. And something that has been helpful for me is realizing that I am not my emotions. I am not my thoughts. Yes, they are a part of me. Yes, I create them. Yes, they're in my experience, but that's not all that I am. And you know that because if you were your emotions, if you were your thoughts, if that's all you were, then when your emotions came up and they went away, you would go with them. 1 minute you can be happy, the next minute you can be sad. And if you are the emotion of happiness, then that means when you stop being happy or when you stop feeling joyful, then you would dissipate. You would you would die with your emotions. You would change with your emotions, but you don't. You can feel happy 1 minute, sad the next minute, and then you're still here. So that means that you are not those emotions. Just want to add that little bit in there. But that helped me a lot with being able to process my emotions. When you recognize that you are not just your emotions. They're temporary. They come and go, and you're still there, even when they come and go. Same thing with your thoughts. Your thoughts come and go. Sometimes you're really overwhelmed, and the next minute you can be relaxed, but you're still there. So it's like you're witnessing these things, but they're not all that you are. They're just a part of your experience. And you can honor that, and you can learn healthier ways to process them without getting drug away in the current by them. They don't have to control you, and you be the puppet, but you can also allow them to be there, come up and acknowledge them without them controlling you, if that makes sense. But kind of get a little carried away, but I thought that was really important to add in there because that has helped me allow these emotions to fully be processed. I thought I was doing that, but just because you kind of cry a little bit and then go about your business doesn't mean you fully felt that. And it can be uncomfortable, especially when you have to sit with it and you're like, dang, how long am I going to feel like this? A lot of times we can find other escapes, other addictions, other ways to avoid it. And then it just stacks up and gets pushed down. And I've talked about this before in the past, but the new things that I've realized is that I haven't been as vulnerable as I thought that I was, and I'm learning to, even though it feels uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. Even though it feels comfortable, I'm still learning to process it a little bit better than I did before. Steps. You don't have to have it all together or have it all processed right away because you're learning. And we have a lot of coping mechanisms and trauma and pain that are reasons for why we show up the way we do when it comes to our emotions, for ourselves and for other people. But I noticed with my emotions that I wasn't really feeling them. I wasn't really fully allowing them to be felt. There was this fixer pattern that I still see, coming up where it's kind of like, you feel through your emotion and then snap out of it, get it together. Okay, that's enough, or it's trying to fix it, make it feel better, go get you some ice cream or, go do something fun so you don't have to sit there with it. Type of thing. It's avoiding it. It's running to other people and maybe dumping what you've been through on them. You're dumping your emotions on them. That's also another way of avoiding things or not dealing with them, even though you think you are. And I've done that too. So it can be expressed in many different ways. And you may see that as you go about your day-to-day life. You may start to notice these different things, and they show up in many different ways. For me, I felt like I was being very vulnerable and expressing myself, but I was actually doing the opposite in a lot of different ways, and so being able to recognize them, let them be there has helped me a lot. But that fixer pattern is something else. I mean, the pattern, the fixer wants you not to feel that because it's uncomfortable. So let's say you feel upset, It doesn't want you to feel upset too long because, it's uncomfortable. You may dwell in it too long. You may get stuck in it. And I've noticed that not only have I done this for myself, but for other people in my life that I love and care about, in other circumstances and situations that feel uncomfortable. It's like, you may have a friend and they're upset. And that fix it pattern, the first thing it wants to do is, oh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. And, let's go do this. Or, you let them cry a little bit and then you're trying to fix it for them like you would do for yourself. You fix it for yourself. What's a way I can make it better? What's a way I can avoid it or distract myself or find an addiction? It takes many different routes, this pattern. And it's not to make the pattern an enemy or something evil. It's just recognizing it, recognizing that it's there, because it doesn't want to be recognized by you, because then it wouldn't be able to thrive. It wouldn't be able to exist or live in your body. So of course it's going to start to latch on to other things so you don't really see it. But if you sit with it, if you just allow yourself to sit with those emotions, like I've seen, you begin to recognize it. You begin to see it for what it is. Because that awareness you have, once you begin to realize it after sitting with it, is the light that shines on the darkness that it is. It's unseen. It's buried deep and it's dark. With your awareness, you realize it. Dang, okay, that's there. That's a pattern. You stop identifying with it, and you see it for what it is. Then it no longer has that control over you, that leash over you. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before in the past as well, in some of my other videos. But it's a reoccurring thing that keeps coming up for me and maybe coming up for you. And it gets exhausting because it's like, okay, I thought I already saw this. I thought I already realized this, learned it, but you got to digest it, you got to integrate it. I just use digest as another word for integrate. And so sometimes we go through the same cycles where we're learning a little bit more each time. So you think you kind of had it all together and you kind of work through it, but it comes up again to be digested a little bit more each time. And so I noticed that with emotions where I'm like, oh my goodness, crying is not just vulnerability. Vulnerability can also be happy, joy, pleasure, peace, allowing yourself to feel happy. That's vulnerability. Allowing yourself to be excited, to be silly, to be curious, And sometimes we repress that too. We think, oh, can't be happy too long because, when you're happy, something bad always happens, or it's too good to be true, or, you don't allow yourself to fully express or receive the joy in the moment within yourself or with other people. And you can see this acted out sometimes too within yourself or with other people. They ruin the moment with something sad, or they're always looking at the what ifs or what disaster can happen. And you're like, hey, we're in a good mood. You don't have to bring it down 3 notches, And so that's another way. It's just very complex and it can go unseen for a long time. That's why it's the dark stuff, the shadow stuff, the stuff that is hidden, that is very uncomfortable sometimes. But it's only uncomfortable to the old self, the self that's hiding. So yeah, that is something that I've noticed, and I'm learning what true vulnerability looks like. And it doesn't always mean being able to show the quote unquote negative feelings, crying or being angry or upset or mad or lonely. It's also being able to receive and share the quote unquote positive things, feeling joyful, feeling excited, feeling creative, feeling confident, being able to receive that and also express that, and do so wholeheartedly. But being able to fully process, integrate, and digest these things and process your emotions and thoughts, it's a process, it takes steps, and that's different for everyone. And that's been huge because you don't have to feel like you need to process things how other people process them. Because like I said, we go through different things, we have different experiences. So they may seem to be more in touch with their emotions, or maybe less. And that's just, them in their own journey. But as far as processing it, you can learn to process it a little bit better in a healthier way within yourself in many different ways. For me, I feel like journaling helps with that. Dancing and singing helps with that. Talking to people that you trust and care about really helps you in those ways. Meditating, affirmations. There's so many different ways that and things you can do that will help you process these emotions. Really sitting with yourself, though, in silence and feeling it, letting it out. As long as you're not hurting nobody, then go for it. Allow yourself to fully feel it. But it takes practice. And so that's something that I'm practicing. And it doesn't always feel comfortable, but you're not meant to feel comfortable all the time. If you felt comfortable all the time, then you wouldn't grow. And so that's something that I remind myself of, because some of those emotions is a lot. It's very heavy. it's a lot going on. But you don't have to run from it. You don't have to hide from it. You can take steps, even if they're small, to process it. That way you can embody your true self and show up for yourself and others in a more authentic way, and they can do the same, and you can lead as example in that. They see you processing your stuff, not taking it out on nobody else, not going to addictions, not avoiding it, but being able to process it. And then other people see that growth. And even if they don't, you see it. And that's a huge thing, is being able to validate your feelings, and then feel them fully through. For me, I thought, okay, I cried it out. It's done. And then when that same thing that I was crying about comes up later, it's like, okay, I thought I was over this already. I thought I felt that through, but it takes time. And when you are in a place of contentment where you've kind of, I guess, fully integrated and processed it through, you're not waiting for it to be gone. You're no longer pushing it away or latching on to it, holding on to those feelings, hurt, trauma, whatever it is. You just let it pass on by like clouds in the sky. And if you cry about it or have emotions about something that you experience one day, and then 3 months down the line, it comes up again, you're not mad at it. You're just like, hey, okay, you're there. I'm gonna feel you through. I'm gonna sit with that. It's ultimately like reparenting yourself, like being that parent or being that safe space and loving space in your own way. Water break. In your own way, for you. And the big thing for me is learn to do that for myself before I try to do that for other people. You can show up for other people, especially when they are really going through it and have a lot going on with their emotions and their thoughts, but you can't tend to other people if you haven't tended to yourself in that way. There's a quote, I don't know exactly if I'm saying it correctly, but I think it's like, you can only meet other people as deep as you have met yourself. So true. So true. I've been shown that time and time again. Because that fixer pattern, especially in me, was so quick to show up for other people and try to fix it for them and try to make it better. And I wasn't doing that. Well, I was doing it to myself, but I was really putting in that effort and care for other people and not really showing up for my ways in healthier ways or at all very much. Or the way that I was showing up for other people was the way I was showing up for myself. And that can be detrimental to you as well. It is a part of your journey and you learning about yourself, but you gotta take care of you and, in the ways that you can as best as you can. And allow other people to experience what they need to experience, feel what they need to feel, and do that for you. Everything's got to flow. And I say digest because with your digestive system, you have to allow things to flow through. I won't get too into detail because we all know how that goes. You eat, you allow your food to kind of, go through, digest through your body, and it comes out the other end. Same thing with emotions, same things with your thoughts and your experiences and things that you've gone through. You have to be able to allow it to digest, and you learn that as you go at your own pace. But yes, it is a lot that comes with the emotions. It can feel like a lot, but you got it. One moment at a time, one step at a time. You learn as you go. So yeah. That was something else that I was going to say, and I just kind of lost it. So I'm going to let it go until it comes back. But processing is huge because if not, then it stays stuck and you get a stomach ache, You see that when you eat foods and certain things. If it's not processing right, or if you eat very greasy food or heavy foods or something, you get bloated or you get a stomach ache or you may throw it back up because you can't, it's too much. So that kind of happens when you kind of repress it or avoid it or run away from your feelings. But it's not that you have to beat yourself up about it, because you're learning, right? But you can recognize it. You can see it for what it is, without becoming that which you see, without identifying with it. You can just say, hey, that's there, and allow it to be there, and it'll pass by. And you know that to be true because, like I said, one minute you could be happy, the next minute you could be sad. Next minute you can be excited. Next minute you can be at peace. I notice when I'm thinking of emotions, it's hard to think of a lot of type of different, emotions, but we experience so many, and you just do the best you can. But these are just a couple of things that I've been learning that have really opened my eyes to how we look at emotions and vulnerability. And I could really take that topic on to other areas. But for today, learn to process it, try to take out the time and find ways that will help you sit with it as much as you can. And then also do other things, I'm not saying you have to sit in it, stay in it forever, but recognize what it is that you're feeling. And you don't have to know why. Sometimes that why sometimes that why is an avoidance too. You want to know why you feel that way, but then you ignore the fact that you feel that way. Just feel that way first. The why will come later, or whenever it's meant to, if it's meant to. But, you feel that way. Validate that, process it, and, there you go. And then allow other people to do that same thing. But it starts with you first, Once you allow yourself to process your emotions, to learn, to grow, and to do it at your own pace in a loving and safe way, you'll start to see that reflected in your outer world, where you are doing that more for other people. You're holding space for them. You're allowing them to process and feel what they feel without trying to change them or make it better, or ignore it. And they're doing the same for you. And it's like that sometimes. It's like everything outside of you is a reflection of what's inside of you. And you learn that more and more as you go. And so the things that you experience in your outer world can be like a guide. Even the things that seem like bad things or horrible things, they can be a guide for you as well. And show you what's going on inside and maybe what you need to, look at. It transforms your perspective. But yeah, that's all I really want to touch base on and say. I'm really excited to be on Spotify and being able to allow my voice to be on different platforms. It's huge. And I'm so excited to build a community with other people and just talk about these things that maybe you don't hear often. Or even if you do, you just hear it again. Things that you may be experiencing, things you can share with other people. And yeah, as I'm talking about sharing, don't forget to share this podcast, whether, it's Transform Perspective on YouTube, on Spotify, or any shorts or anything you see on TikTok. Share with your family, your friends, your loved ones, people who may relate to the different topics and things that I talk about. And don't forget to like if you're on Transform Perspective on YouTube, follow, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And just remember this one thing, if you don't remember anything else that I've talked about. It is not about perfection, but committing to expansion. Have a transformed perspective.